there is even a video of these war crimes occurring. But what happened?
So okay, I know what's the special sauce. I think I know. I think you know too. And like, is it really?
There were reports of filled diapers being shoved into toilets and left on top of cars, some saying the smell was terrible. People were going out in...
Some say the smell was terrible. I mean, I think we could believe him, bro. I think it's fair to say that it was. So the worst furry convention. How bad are we talking? I don't know.
So it's been a while since I talked about one of your favourite hobbies, one you hold near and dear to your heart, but can't let anyone else in your life know about it, due to the risk of people viewing you like a walking defecation, and your family somewhat disowning you. No, this video isn't about your War Thunder addiction, and don't worry, this is the last time I will on the War Thunder community, I pinky promise. But a lot of this community probably does play War Thunder anyway, and surprisingly, if they all disappeared, we'd probably have a shortage of military personnel, programmers and engineers in the world. And some say this community ranges from a few 100,000 to millions. So someone you know could be a part of this community. And apparently most of them reside in America. Just saying, if you didn't drop the T, you probably wouldn't have this problem and would still have your foreskin. But this community is probably the most targeted and discriminated group on the internet. Obviously outside of things like race, sexual preference and gender maybe. But this is the animal cosplaying, Toontown looking, Conker's Bad Fur Day inspired, Lola Bunny interested. Yes, that makes you part of the community. If you ever held any interest in Lola Bunny, you're a part of the community now. No ifs.
And who says that? You know what I'm saying? I think that we shouldn't jump to conclusions this fast. You know what I'm saying? I think that we should think about it, talk about it a little, I don't think it's fair because some people, not me, but some people, wouldn't agree with it because, reasons.
Or buts about it, you're in denial. But this is the furry community, which has been on the internet for a while now, some saying even before the creation of things like Reddit. Furries are mainly described as anthropomorphic characters, and if you lack skill points and intelligence, it's basically animals with human characteristics. There are many classes of furries though. You've got normal furries, furries that have no fur at all, and just look like those cats that are overgrown testicles. Similarly, you have scalies, that are based on things like lizards and dragons, avians which are like birds, and for the 50th time, I'm not an avian or a furry. It's not a duck, it's not a hedgehog, it's not a beaver. You must have advanced glaucoma if you think that. It is just a cute bird I found in my wall. Anyway.
Yeah, and you're cosplaying as the bird on the internet. So you're a furry as well. Truth. If like in Lola Bunny is furry, this is as well. Let's be honest.
You also have the lesser known fishies, the buggies or insect fairies, and the fairy...
That's a fucking... Bro, insect furries, that's nightmare, bro. No thanks.
Femboys. Many fairies express themselves through their fursonas, their own fairy avatar of sorts, which they represent through things like art or their very own fursuit, which are very expensive. Most of these people must be oil tycoons to afford this stuff, but since its conception, at least on the internet,
yeah, and to maintain it as well, right? Like the whole thing is like furry and shit, right? So like to keep it clean and shit, you're probably spending thousands just by just for cleaning and stuff.
Has grown exponentially over the years, but so has the hatred for it. Many hold a distaste for fairies, following the negative stigma surrounding it, viewing most members of the community as degenerate heathens, with many assuming people a part of this community want to do things with actual animals, which is mainly due to the actions and events surrounding more infamous fairy members, and groups like zoos, which we've talked about before, and even the fairy community itself detests these people, and strongly refuses association with them. It is quite...
Yeah, but it's like with every group of people, and I'm saying, like, if you have, VTubers, you definitely find, a decent chunk, of VTubers that are fucking degenerates. If you look at fucking, I don't know, Formula One fans, decent chunk of them will be degenerates. That's, the case with every, group of people, that share, a hobby or whatever, right? But the thing with furries is that furries are big, I'm saying? Furries are everywhere, they are... that like the furry community is very big, therefore they will have more degenerates, because of the sheer size of the community. Doesn't make sense.
Quite easy to find anti-fairy sentiment on the internet, labelled anti-fairs, some wishing physical harm upon fairies, but I personally judge fairies not by the fur on their skin, but by their actions. Please don't send me a pipe bomb in the mail. I know a lot of you are very capable of doing so and could probably form your own militia group at this point, but I assure you, I'm just joking around. But from my personal interactions with fairies, most of them are normal, albeit they are very enthusiastic about the topic, but from what I've seen it's just a hobby, and they mainly just get bad rep due to that stigma. But the fairy group, as said before, has grown a lot over the years, to the point where they have their own events like fair cons, which thousands attend per event, and for some reason some of them summon the fifth sin of gluttony. But fairy conventions are something I wanted to talk about today because a lot of them had their fair share of controversies, and once again I keep getting Instagram Reels referring to the topic. How many of my videos have been inspired from Instagram Reels serving me pure slop? But I do miss the person I was before this video, mainly after finding out about the pizza party of October 2021. So fairy conventions are a lot like most other conventions. An overcrowded hotel or convention centre with barely any air conditioning, and the same can be said for deodorant and correct hygiene. As a matter
And overpriced everything, bro. Overpriced food, overpriced drinks, overpriced everything. Fucking, I hate conventions, bro. A lot of people, fucking, all of the conventions that I've been to smell like fucking shit. No thanks. If I wanted to fucking be body on body, skin on skin with random people that I don't know, I would use the public transport.
Matter of fact, most conventions, especially anime conventions, probably have their own putrid AoE effect, emitting gamma radiation enough to erode the insides of your nose. Most organisers actually have to remind convention goers to wear deodorant, which is... it's something. But as said, fairy conventions are set up like many other conventions. There's panels, small events, stalls for items like art, even a black market for adult items. But fairy conventions are unique in that way, where other convention black markets probably have things like naked body pillows and that's it. But fairy conventions have bad dragons, and apparently it's a hobby to collect them now. I personally don't know why you'd want to tickle your colon, but you do you. But
So, here's the question. Will I pretend like I don't know what a bad dragon is, or not? That's the question. I had no idea that people are collecting them, though. I've just seen them, being used, to be honest. Yeah, very interesting thing to use like this. Yeah.
how are fairy cons different from things like Comic Cons, Anime Cons, and Brony Cons? Well, obviously it's down to the fact most of the attendees are wearing fursuits, compared to anime conventions.
Therefore, therefore there has to be less people, right? Because the people are bigger because they have these massive fursuits on. You know what I'm saying? So they might be better than usual conventions.
Where you would see cosplays you'd probably recognise. At a fairy convention you probably won't recognise most characters, due to the fact most of them are their own creations and their own OCs. And there are a variety of builds. You've got the people that don't wear any suits at all, and are just there for the experience. You've got ones that only wear their heads because they can't afford the down payment for the rest of the suit. You've got the full fursuits, some that are even modified to have AC units within them. Then you've got fursuits that look like they have a whole Abrams tank in their stomach, and looking like Executioner S'more, who appear to be either fat.
I hate that guy, bro. I spent like 6 hours with these two goofballs in Dark Souls 1, bro. I hate them.
Or somewhat pregnant. These are called fat fairs, supposedly most times a form of adiophilia, which is an attraction to gaining weight. I personally don't get it. You'd probably need to refer to a professional in this subject. But there are a lot of fairy cons that occur, once again, mostly in America. You have cons like Anthro New England, Midwinter Frolic Anthro Expo, and Fair Squared, all happening this year. There's even VR fairy cons now, like Furry hosted on VRChat, which apparently has its own private server and was said to be very well prepared with its own worlds. A lot of these conventions are non-profit and encourage donations to chosen charities for that convention. I would go so far as to say most furry conventions are fairly normal in terms of structure and events. However, some conventions have seen their fair share of controversies, to the point where, like furries themselves, furry cons carry a negative stigma surrounding them, especially from outside of the community. And to be honest, giving the benefit of the doubt of the ones I looked into, and one I thought was completely fictional and at most an urban legend, I can see why some people aren't completely sold on furry conventions, even when a majority of them are nothing like any of these. But the first controversy surrounding a furry con I wanted to talk about is said urban legend. And if you're watching this video whilst eating, this is going to be a good tolerance test for your appetite, so be warned. But first, I need to warn you about something else. Something that will have your nuts quaking with excitement. Something even you furries out there can enjoy. We have once again partnered with Gamersubs with their new Kaiju trend drop, which brings a new cup, apparel, and even a stuffed animal. No, there isn't any femboy cups announced by Gamersubs yet, you sick, but this is a limited time product.
No fanboy cups. How can I take this corporate seriously? How can I take this company seriously if they have no fanboys? Come on, it's 2025. Some people like fanboys. Some people like fanboys. They say it all the time. Frankie, where are the fanboy cups? You know what I'm saying? And yeah, just give it to the people. You know what I'm saying? Just give it to the people.
So get it whilst you can. And do be warned, a lot of Gamersubs stock does sell out pretty fast, so it might be gone by the time you get this. Don't blame me. Recently I'm still enjoying my guacamole gamerfar inspired by Russian Badger, but I have developed a taste for their new banana propaganda tub. But if you aren't completely sold on buying a tub for yourself, they do have sample packs that are free so you can find the taste for you. Use code ROYAL at checkout for 10% off your order, or just click the link in the description. And going back to the video, we'll be talking about a...
Honestly, I don't like these, these fucking Gamersubs, fucking, do you know what I mean? Like these make your own, energy drinks. Nothing beats Dr. Pepper or zero sugar Coke, in my opinion. But the cups are fucking next level, you know what I'm saying? The cups are awesome, the merch as well. So, like, yeah, I don't like, the actual products, but like the merchandise is awesome.
Newly discovered flavour you will not enjoy hearing about at all.
It's under the sauce. There's no cheese on it. It's under the sauce.
Now, as said before, the first controversy I thought was a little hoax, a little joke, a little trolling if you will. Because I thought nobody in their right mind would do this. It's a joke I even included in my previous videos. And imagine my horror when I found out it was a canon event within this current timeline, and it didn't even happen too long ago. It's even that popular it has its own wiki page describing the events in detail, and disturbingly enough, there is even a video of these war crimes occurring. But what happened?
So okay, I know what's the special sauce. I think I know. I think you know too. And like, is it really?
So it was October 2021. COVID at the time was almost over, and the world was slowly returning back to normal, and furry cons were following that trend. The convention Biggest Little Fair Con 2021, held in Nevada, was just wrapping up its own convention, which was very successful. It had plenty of attendees and raised a lot of money for charities like no-kill shelters for animals, and was like every other fair con. But little did the organisers know their event would be known for something else. After the conclusion of Biggest Little Fair Con, there was another party just starting, an unofficial after party for the convention if you will. It was advertised a few days prior to the Fair Con starting, with multiple tweets and even a PowerPoint presentation, and surprisingly enough, it was a pizza party of sorts. Because it wasn't a normal pizza party. First of all, there was only one pizza, and only one person from what we know was actually going to eat the pizza out of 19 attendees in a small hotel room. Now, only one person consuming the pizza wasn't down to the fact it was like a disgusting pizza like pineapple. I still believe if you like that, you deserve to be kneecapped with salt rock shells. And
hate pineapple on pizza, bro. Hate that shit.
It wasn't down to the fact it was a Papa John's pizza, although this would be free advertising for Papa John's in the future, but this was intended, because only one person was going to eat it because of the ingredients, which was very unconventional at the time. These fairies were the Christopher Columbus of discovering new flavours, because the process of producing said flavour was all 19 attendees gathering around the pizza and adding their own extra topping to said pizza, that being their own lineage, their own genetic code, their own baby goo, some would say. They all nutted on the pizza. All the
Yeah, that's what I thought. Listen, I thought that it was, their cool, but like, yeah, I was right, and I don't know how to feel about it. I know how to feel about it. What the fuck, bro?
attendees knew this was going to happen. An open invite to do this activity was posted on Twitter, inviting people to come thicken the crust of their pizza. And what's worse is, somebody actually ate the pizza, and there is a video to corroborate it. Obviously, I can't show you the video, because one, some of them have their sauce squirters still out, and one has theirs in a cage for some reason. And you can actually see the human bodily fluid sitting on top of the cheese like separated oil. Now the person that posted this and created the event, to no one's surprise, was a fairy porn creator. Believe me, I looked at the Twitter and it is just straight up 24/7 porn, or yiffing as the fairies call it. I have never
What a fucking surprise, bro. A person that, ordered this special pizza posts about corn 24/7. I mean, I'm shattered. My sense of reality was shattered. How is that even possible?
seen so many fairballs, but this historical event was in celebration of them reaching 2,000 followers on Twitter. I don't know what their celebration for 10k is going to be, maybe a free use glory hole with burger buns. But this event itself caused a lot of backlash. First, due to what happened to the pizza afterwards, as the participants joked they left the cum pizza in the hallway for potentially others to find. But after people gave them shit for doing this, they quickly clarified they disposed of the pizza, and the whole hallway thing was part of the joke, although some people were skeptical. The next fallout was the fact this event was broadcasted all over the internet. It was spread within and outside the furry community, especially due to things like the memes that were generated from it, like the pizza being in the hallway and the pizza itself. The potential consequence of this was that people outside the community may think this is normal for fairies to do, and may assume the worst of them, buying into the stereotype that all fairies must be degenerates. Even people within the community were criticising the creator, as they also thought it would add to the negative stigma surrounding fairies. Overall, this event left a stain on the reputation of biggest little faircon, at least for the...
Yeah, here's the deal. Like, furries have, like I said, as any other, group of people, they have, some sort of, degenerates within, the community. I think it's normal for every, community. However, furries do have, bad rap or bad street rap, and I think they probably should, watch their steps, a little closer, because like they have, bad street rap, bad rap. So like, if you're a furry, you shouldn't really, let this happen, or if you do, things like that, you shouldn't like share it, right? Like, I mean, it's stupid.
The year of 2021. It also caused some trouble for other events as well, as some people were making custom badges referencing the event and requesting an invitation to the next one. The creator did receive their fair share of hate for this. Once again, it possibly affected the reputation of fairies as a whole, due to the fact this story reached a lot of people, and it became a whole ass meme. And the creator of it was banned from a few other fairy cons, albeit temporarily, but it didn't directly harm anyone, except for the fact...
Well, to be fair, he didn't do it, during the event. He did it after, you know what I mean? It was after party. It's like, if you smoke crack after school, it's not, your school's got nothing to do with, you know what I'm saying? That's how it is. That's the baseline, right? So like, yeah, they can't really ban him, right? Because he did it after.
Fact, they probably didn't screen participants for STDs, which they probably should have. But the next one I wanted to talk about actually did do some damage.
Lake of chlorine
What's
gas.
a furry convention?
Did I get that
What
wrong?
leak there? Oh, gosh.
Okay.
So this event took place at the Midwest Fairfest convention in 2014. An event that usually operates from December 5th to the 7th. A convention, once again like every other fairy convention, with around 4,500 attendees. And it was usually held in a large hotel. This year wasn't really going to stand out like any other year, or any other furry convention, until it did, and it could have possibly led to people dying. On December 7th, the convention was going ahead, and everything seemed normal until around 12 o'clock, where people began to smell things like bleach and chlorine, some even saying it smelled like a swimming pool. Many of the event attendees and hotel staff began to complain about irritations in their eyes and breathing, so the emergency services were called, and later a hazmat team arrived to identify the cause of the smell, where it was discovered there was a broken glass container containing chlorine powder on the 9th floor stairwell. Now, chlorine powder can be fatal if you're exposed to it for an extended amount of time in an enclosed space with no ventilation. So the event and hotel as a whole were quickly evacuated, including people that were not even taking part in the event. Everyone was forced outside onto the street, where news reporters quickly arrived to cover the story. 19 people were hospitalized with respiratory issues relating to exposure to the chlorine, and it took until 5 AM for the chemical to be removed and the hotel properly ventilated, where they started letting people back into the hotel. The good thing about this event was nobody died, and it's a good thing the emergency services were called when they were, limiting the amount of people exposed and harmed by the substance. Now, why was there chlorine powder at a furry event? Well,
Thank you. Listen, the whole time I'm thinking about how and why was there a fucking glass jug full of chlorine powder in a hotel during a furry convention. Was it like an attack? Like, where like people trying to get, rid of furries or something?
I initially thought it was down to the cleaning staff for accidentally spilling something, but where would cleaning staff
Bro, no.
get pure chlorine to the point where it would actually kill somebody? It's like saying they had access to like Novichok or something. Well, apparently it wasn't incidental, but intentional. According to the emergency services, it appeared that somebody purposely did this. Somebody went to the convention and purposely broke a glass container, releasing the dangerous substance.
So it was someone wanted to fucking kill as many furries as possible by breaking a jug full of chlorine powder in their fucking hotel room. Bro, that's bad. That, like, listen, why were we even talking about the GS pizza? You know what I'm saying? This is crazy.
But nobody knew why. Were they targeting the furries or some?
Of course. What else? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have a furry convention in a hotel and you bring there a jug full of fucking chlorine powder and you break it on purpose, like, what else were you trying to kill?
Somebody else at the hotel. Well, even to this day, nobody knows, because nobody was caught or arrested for the crime. But one of the most controversial factors, except for people possibly dying, was the coverage of the situation by news outlets, specifically by MSNBC. Due to the fact when the newscasters were covering the event, they began laughing at their newfound discovery that were furries.
Hospitalized at a furry convention in Illinois after what's being called an
What's a
intentional leak of chlorine
What's
gas.
a furry convention?
Did I get that wrong?
Along with convention attendees into the cold night, many still dressed in their furry costumes. Hotel was
Where you going?
Contaminated.
Hey,
Guests came back
come
inside
back.
at 4 a.m. Police still
Come
treat
back.
the matter as a criminal
Could
investigation.
you
Listen, I get it. It's their first time seeing furries, so they're fucking laughing and shit. That's cool. I can understand it. You know what I mean? I think you can understand it as well. Like, if you see something like this for the first time, it's shocking at least. You know what I'm saying? So they're laughing over it. It's about this dude disrupting, acting like an asshole while he's fucking telling this story about, people possibly dying because some asshole wanted to get rid of them. You know what I'm saying? That's super unprofessional, and like, yeah, I can understand the laughing, but like, not paying attention to the story of 4,500 people, right, that could possibly die because of it. Go fuck yourself. Stop working. Stop doing news, bro.
Could you check on Mika, see if she's okay? She's over there somewhere.
This guy must have already known what fairies are, or just has the most magnificent poker face. However, some people within the
No, we understood that there was 4,500 people, possibly, facing unaliving, you know what I'm saying? So he knew, like, okay, this is funny, but, like, people are in danger, you know what I'm saying? There was probably people hospitalized and shit because of it, so, like, he knew what he's dealing with, and he acted like a professional, like he should have, you know? And again, I can understand that they're laughing because they're shocked and shit, but, like, yeah, like, there was lives in danger. It isn't, like, okay, she's laughing, she left, okay, that's cool, but, like, this guy in the middle is trying to disrupt everything, and hey, this is funny, follow her and see how she's laughing, you know what I'm saying, and stuff. But while there was people, you know, hospitalized and maybe, you know, facing unaliving after, you know, that's fucked up, bro. Let's face it.
Furry community didn't like this, as you know, people could have died, and this was a serious event, but these guys were kind of just laughing at the fact that they just discovered a fairy. And some people attributed this event and the coverage of it to how much people hate fairies overall.
Like, the laughing is cool. Again, if you see a fairy for the first time, okay, you laugh, that's cool, but, like, she laughed and left. You know, that's what you should do, right? You see something, you can't really control it, right? So you see the fursuits and shit, so you start laughing, and you know you're disrupting, you know you're being disrespectful, so you leave, right? That's cool. But the guy in the middle is trying to make it a spectacle. Hey, go follow her, while he knows that there was 19 people hospitalized. You know, that's just fucked up.
Or just don't understand them. Also, the event organisers didn't offer a refund at all. However, the next convention, although it was significantly less dangerous than the one I just mentioned, it didn't show the furry community in the best light.
Not even the carrion eaters are interested in your radiated corpse.
Rainforest Con in 2015 was a con where the furry community looked like absolute fiends, mainly due to their shenanigans, said shenanigans that were conducted like they were trained in guerrilla warfare, with how much damage they caused from this, which may have contributed to the fact that said con was never hosted again, and was suspended indefinitely. So Rainforest Con 2015 was a furry convention held in a Hilton hotel near the Seattle SeaTac Airport in Washington. Having
fancy
stayed in a Hilton hotel myself, it is definitely RNG. Some Hiltons will be the best stay of your life, and some others you would think you were staying at a cheap motel with copious amounts of pubic hairs and semen stains. There is no in between. But that year the theme was swords and sorcery, and in the opening ceremony, in conjunction with the theme, the organisers dispelled the rumour that the FairCon was under an evil curse.
I am absolutely sure there is no truth to the rumour that Rainforest is under an evil curse.
Little did they know it was under an evil curse, as all of the 7 sins were about to be committed. Within the few days the event was active. There were a lot of things that happened at this event, but to save your time, so you can go back to whatever mundane activities you had to do today, here's a short list of what happened. Somebody purposely flooded a public toilet within the hotel by messing with the screws that kept it secure, and even flooded the basement. They broke one of the elevators of the hotel. They threw multiple towels into a hot tub and blocked the main hot tub pipe so it was permanently damaged and required repairs. There were reports of filled diapers being shoved into toilets and left on top of cars, some saying the smell was terrible. People were going out in...
Some say the smell was terrible. I mean, I think we could believe him, bro. I think it's fair to say that it was.
Public in adult diapers and BDSM gear. Someone allegedly shat in the pool and left a floating log in it. Smoke detectors were removed from some rooms, obviously so they could smoke within their own room. Litter and fairy stickers were left all around the hotel, some showing NSFW fairy yiffing or something. There were reports of drug dealing, apparent drug overdoses, and copious amounts of alcohol consumption. Some attendees were said to be pissing on the beds, and most rooms were severely damaged or required a lot of cleaning.
Well, they were all playing real hard, you know what I'm saying?
That is just a short list, by the way. This event was an absolute disaster. Or was it? Now, in recent years, there have been a lot of videos about this convention, many saying the same things I just said. Although I did miss the part where they apparently drilled a glory hole in the toilet. That would have been my favourite part to cover. But there is a lot of contention to some of the claims made. First, some of the people that supposedly attended it claim there has been a lot of misinformation spread about the con, intentionally by some fairies that do this at other cons.
You'll notice that in a lot of, let's say, videos and other places that have covered rainforest, you'll notice that there's one Twitter account that shows up multiple times that was somehow able to catch and document so many of these things that were happening that they just so happened to be right in front of. A Twitter user by the name of just made a bunch of shit up.
I tried looking for the Twitter user they were talking about, but they apparently don't exist anymore, at least when I tried. Although there was a big drug problem at the event, which even the organisers years later admitted to.
It lists a bunch of bullet points about things that they had a problem with. So let's start with, if there is 10, I don't know that there's 10, I think there might be more or less. Only 2 of those bullet points did not talk about drugs. So in my mind, drugs was the major problem.
Well, if there was drugs, it was definitely the major problem, bro. Like, let's face it, they are usually, when there are drugs involved in anything, they are the biggest problem.
And events like the diapers and BDSM wear in public were supposedly outside a fairy kink festival, so they weren't just walking around all day like this. I don't know if that's positive PR or negative PR, but yep, okay. But it was said that some of the claims were created by trolls within the community.
At ours, there was one bathroom that got flooded, and some people spread the rumor or said that it was sabotage, and other people just said it was a big guy sitting on the toilet and it broke. So that's a 50-50, who knows. Vandalism was like a very minor part. Never in the entire duration of us being at Rainforest did the hotel ever approach us about paying for any damages to public spaces. Vandalism.
Well, that's a big claim then, you know what I'm saying? In that case, the whole thing with like the hot tub being, blocked over with fucking towels and broken and shit, like, that's all bullshit then. And they couldn't find like in sabotage, evidence on the toilet and shit. So that's a big claim. That's a big claim. That's a big information.
Was not talked about in that letter.
But there definitely was a drug problem, and the event did eventually get shut down.
But other things that were talked about were things like 2,000 nitrous oxide cartridges just left there. 2 drug overdoses that required ambulances. The quote-unquote week-long party. So, a drug arrest in the adjacent parking lot, a person that police believed has ties to the Rainforest group. So again, and that was a drug dealing arrest. So this is sort of where it got a bit extreme for Rainforest. Yeah, Rainforest volunteer staff member was reported to have
a bit extreme, bro. How many overdoses were there? Yeah.
Sexually assaulted a female. The responding sheriff charged the man. Can't get too much into what happened. It happened in a public space, so we called the police as soon as we found out. We called the hotel in as soon as we found out. The sheriff came over. He was handcuffed, brought to the car, and then unhandcuffed and let go. I don't know what the status of any charges are. It's, a guest room smoke detector was tampered with and discarded in the guest corridor. Yep. And that is, unfortunately, one that is very serious.
And allegedly some people within the community were sending this information to any hotel and convention they were looking at for the next event, so they just couldn't find a place for the next convention or to move this convention, so they just cancelled it.
Point where we...
Well, yeah, but like, were they trying to sabotage them because they have their own cons or whatever, or were they trying to stop another rainforest because of the drug abuse issues and other issues that they had, that, the guy said that they had, because they don't want this bad look, for furries, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're a furry, that's like, listen, like, 95% of furries are fucking cool as fuck, you know what I'm saying? Are cool people, normal people, you know what I'm saying? And they don't want this look, you know what I'm saying? They don't want, other, they don't want normies to associate furries with degenerate shit and drug abuse, etc. So they probably, didn't want, this event to happen again, because it would be another, bad rep, for furries.
We have decided that we're going to try to find a new venue. We go around, we try to find a bunch of new venues. Couldn't find anything in the local area. It seemed strange, almost as if like they were being talked to. And so then we go to Spokane, and that's when we find out for sure that there is a furry out there who is sending letters to every potential venue for Rainforest.
But that is the other side of the story, so to speak. I personally wasn't there. I was a little spam cell playing Call of Duty Black Ops 3 at the time, but I would have loved if that glory hole story was true. It would have been so funny. Because, like, how does a glory hole at a fairy convention work? Like, is there a flap on the front, or does the fair just get stuck in there? It's a conundrum. So in conclusion, these were some of the more notable fairy conventions that may have generated the negative stigma surrounding.
I think you would have to have, a glory hole in the suit as well, you know what I'm saying? You don't need a wall, you know what I'm saying? You just drill a hole into the suit, and you have like mobile glory hole, you know what I'm saying?
Fairies and fairy cons. I don't think all fairy cons are like this, but from what I have seen, most fairy conventions are normal, although I've never taken part in it because, once again, not a part of that community. But I think some content creators
copium
that have actually investigated fairy cons in person discover pretty quickly there's nothing nefarious happening at most of these events, and in some cases they end up looking like the weird ones.
Bring it on me. Almighty Tim, make us furries! Yeah!
Fairies, as always, still have a negative stigma around them, some saying they're all degenerates due to some members of the community, but hey, if that was true, it's also true that every Hearts of Iron player is a femboy. Also, do not deposit your seed onto consumable items for the love of God, even if you're bulking and need that protein boost. Just don't do it. But yeah, that's all I had to say, and bye-bye.
Yeah, true. Like I said before, when there's a group of people, there's gonna be some assholes within it, and yeah, that's the deal with furries as well, in my opinion, you know what I'm saying? And just by, the sheer size of the furry community, there is more assholes, because of it, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, I don't think that furries are bad. I don't think that every furry is a degenerate, you know what I'm saying? I think that's fucking ridiculous. And I hate when people do this, you know what I'm saying? Like, the world isn't black and white. Like, yeah, there's a space for nuance, you know what I'm saying? And like I said before, I think that 95% of furries are fucking cool. I don't really get it. But like, if you want to do what you want to do, that's on you. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I wish they haven't had such a bad rap. And maybe they should like start to moderate their community from the inside. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they should have some sort of, like a furry government. You know what I'm saying? I think that would be cool. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's gonna be everything. Hope you liked the video. If you did, like and subscribe. The original will be linked in the description as usual, so you can check it out without my rambling. And see you later.